To Massachusetts now, where 12 jurors will decide whether Brian Walshe is guilty of killing his wife, Anna. Deliberations began today after both sides delivered closing arguments. Now, prosecutors allege Walshe killed and then dismembered his wife on New Year's Day of 2023. The defense argues he unexpectedly found his wife dead in their bed and panicked. I'm joined now by legal analyst Jennifer Roman, who's been closely following this case day by day. Jennifer, walk us through today's closing arguments. What did both sides really want to impress upon the jurors ahead of deliberations?
The defense was really focused on negating any effort by the prosecution to show premeditation and to show motive. And so the defense's closing was really focused on that. They were focused on the fact that there was, he claims there's no proof that Brian Walshe knew about Anna Walsh's affair. There was no proof that the parties were struggling financially. In fact, the defense argued they were making big plans for their future. The defense argued there's no proof that Brian Walshe was relying on the life insurance that was insuring Anna Walsh's life. There was no proof at all that their marriage was on the rocks, is what the defense was saying. And in fact, Anna Walshe trusted Brian Walshe so much that their 3 young children were primarily in his care while she worked in Washington, D.C. So the defense was very much focused on eliminating premeditation, eliminating motive, and pointing out to the jurors there was no signs of struggle inside that home. There is no blood splatter. There was no evidence around the fireplace that had some child protective coating on there that had been damaged or in a struggle or a fight. Then we've got the prosecution, who really seemed to be leaning into the jury's common sense. They really focused on the fact that Brian Walshe was not, in fact, concerned about his wife dying a sudden, unexpected death, as Brian Walsh's defense team has claimed and argued, but rather concerned about cleaning up the murder and making sure that there was no evidence that the police could find that would link him to the murder. And they relied on this surveillance footage. They relied on the Google searches that he made following Anna's death that included things like how best to dispose of a body, does bleach work to clean up DNA, how long does DNA last? And so the prosecution was really focusing on those points, and I think they really pointed out in a very compelling manner the searches that Brian Walshe did not make after Anna Walshe was, he claims was found dead. He didn't Google how best to support grieving children after the loss of a parent. He didn't Google sudden unexpected death or potential causes of a sudden death. And I thought that was really compelling point for the prosecution to point out on their closing today.
There were a lot of pieces of evidence in this trial. The one big piece that was missing was the body. But what piece of evidence that was revealed in court do you think will be the most crucial in terms of the outcome of this trial?
I think the surveillance footage of Brian Walshe taking large bags for sure is going to be crucial, as well as his purchases at Lowe's, the cleaning supplies that he purchased, the fact that he went to a Lowe's an hour away from his home wearing gloves and a mask and had $600 and some odd in cash on him to make this purchase. And then all of the bloody clothing that the police found in the dumpster, her personal belongings that had her blood on them, the areas of the carpet that were removed from the home with Anna Walsh's blood and DNA on it. I think all of that physical evidence is going to be really crucial for the prosecution, but I think the jury is also going to weigh heavily the testimony not only of the medical examiner and the scientists who confirmed that this was Anna's DNA, but also her friends and the person she was said to be having an affair with. They all also provided some really important insight into the potential relationship between Anna Walshe and Brian Walshe and the lack of any sort of domestic violence or a history of violence. And I think that's going to be heavily on the jury's mind as they sift through all of this evidence.
Jennifer Roman, thank you so much.